What's up guys, my name is Dizzy. I'm just a kid from Maui with a story that might sound just like yours, right? I didn't come from money, I didn't get lucky, but I believe something that most people actually forget is that you gotta dig your well before you're thirsty. See, this journey, it wasn't easy. It was long nights, doubt, pressure, pain, but through it all, I held on to this one belief, is that I was built for more, that if I stayed patient, aggressive, and bold, I'd make it. And if you're watching this, maybe, just maybe, you're built for more too. So let me take you back to where it all started, in Maui, Hawaii, right? That's my home. Most people think of paradise, sunsets, surf, and slow living. And yeah, I am blessed. I have a loving family, beautiful scenery, and peace. But just remember that peace can also be deceiving, right? I look around, I saw people comfortable and content. And something inside me said, that's not gonna be me. As a kid, I was quiet, I kept to myself, but my mind, it was always racing, I was always dreaming, and I'd sit under the stars alone, and I'd picture a whole different life. One where I created something real, and one where I took care of the people I love. And speaking of love, basketball was my first love. I practiced every day, I chased that dream hard, but when you're 5'7", the league doesn't come knocking on the door. And that realization hit me, that not everything I love will love me back. And so what I did is I shifted and I took that hunger and I redirected it to something better and useful. And so as I got older, that hunger turned into a question. What would it take for me to break the cycle? See, my parents, the hardest workers I've ever known, they held it down, jobs, bills, sacrifice. They pushed me to do well in school and to follow the traditional path. But that wasn't for me. I respect them deeply for that, but I also watched them come home tired, miss holidays, skip vacations, and I saw the weight they carried, the way society told them, this is just how life is. And I remember sitting in my room thinking, am I gonna do this for 40 years? And I told myself, I'm not doing this for 40 years. Not because I thought I was better than everyone, but because I wanted better for them, for my family, for me, and for my daughter. And so when I dropped out of college, it wasn't to quit, it was to really start. Even when my parents didn't understand, even when it hurt them, I knew I had to just give it all I got and go all in. And that's when, I started looking online. I started searching, praying, and in 2019, I found out I was gonna become a father. And that flipped my whole world. It wasn't about me anymore, right? It was about showing up every day, providing, and being present. And I didn't want to do that working 10 hours a day for someone else. I wanted freedom. And so I started searching, how to make money online. One word kept popping up, and it was actually Forex. I didn't have a mentor, I had Wi-Fi in desperation. I watched every YouTube video, every free course, every breakdown. I stayed up late, rewinding the same 10 seconds over and over. And my first trade, guys, a freaking mess. I lost rent money, but I was learning. And every time I failed, I thought of my daughter. I'd whisper, give it one more try. Because for me, failure was never an option and there was never a plan B. But my life didn't just test me, it tried to break me. And in 2020 was a year that broke me and built me. I got evicted, my credit was wrecked, and I couldn't see my daughter for a few years. I remember sitting in a cold apartment wondering, how did I let it get this far? Not because I didn't work hard, but because I was still trying to figure things out. There were nights I'd cry in the shower, loud, my brain's exploding, thinking, what am I gonna do? I was quiet, letting the water run down, thinking that it could wash away the fear, but deep down I kept holding on. Even when everything told me to stop, I look in the mirror, eyes red, voice shaking, and I whisper, give it one more try. Over and over and over again. But storms don't last forever, and just remember that. And when the sun finally came up, it hit different. So fast forward 2024, I've been in the game for about 45 years. I knew the charts like the back of my hand. I trusted my system. My mindset was locked in, and then it happened, guys. One day, one trade, and one run, $120,000 or $130,000 in 60 days. I didn't scream, I didn't flex, I just sat still, I was quiet. It was surreal. And for the first time, I wasn't hustling, guys, for survival. I was living in freedom. And that moment wasn't about money, right? It was about proof that belief plus action equals reality. And with that freedom came something even better: clarity. I quit my job, I packed my bags, I booked a one-way ticket to Bali, to Japan, Monaco, France, Norway, Finland, and the Philippines. Places that I used to dream about. I lived out of a suitcase, but I felt more grounded than ever. I journaled by waterfalls. I watched sunsets from rooftops. I breathed air that didn't smell like pressure. I remember why I started. It was not to flex, but to feel free. See, success isn't just about what you earn. It's about what you're willing and finally willing to let go of. And now everything I learned, I give back. Now I teach, not because I need to, but because I get to, right? I know what it's like to be stuck, to feel like the system isn't built for you, to open Instagram and see people winning while you're praying for rent. And that's why I started mentoring, and that's why I started teaching people. And that's why I built my free Discord, to give people something real, not a hype, not fake flexing, just facts, results, and a community. I won't promise you like fast money, but I will promise you this, that if you're ready to work and you stay humble and you stay locked in, I'll show you how to win. I will show you the strategy that I use. So yeah, that's my story, guys, right? But remember that this isn't about me. It's about you. To my younger self, I'm proud of you. And to you, yeah, you watching this, your story isn't over. It's just waiting for the next and new chapter. You don't need a permission, but you just need a strong reason. So join the free Discord below. The link is below in the description. Watch how I trade, learn the mindset. And if you're ready for more, if you're ready to take trading seriously, just DM me on Instagram, Dizzy Emotion. Because your seat at the winning table, it's not reserved, it's earned. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe.